Sweet dreams.
It feels like a pretty modern relationship, to be honest. A relationship where love sometimes feels like it's not enough. It's not enough to just be in love. This is a great quote I love. It's by the playwright Jean-Ennui, and he says, "There is love, of course, and then there is life, its enemy." And I feel like it's a very modern sentiment, because you've got responsibility. You've got the mortgage to pay off. You've got each other's jobs, and you've got you've got alone time and family time, both sides, and it's just you've just got to give so much more than love. I'd done a sex scene before, but never had to bare my ass before. I was surprisingly okay with it. If you've got an ass like mine, you really don't want to hide it. The sex scenes are explosion of passion, and poor Steve, best of intentions, but comes up short, like he sort of does in life. I mean, that's really, it's sort of a mirror of what's happening in his life. He disappoints her again.
She doesn't quite understand him all the time, and he's just trying to find his words, and he bumbles through it all, and he does that so beautifully, the classic moment where they're, going to kiss, and then it's just all too much for her, and I just think she just can't hold up the bravado anymore, or that facade. This is not how you're meant to be married, to someone else who you're not in love with, and to have this big scheme, and I think she's really starting to crumble. That kiss happens, and it's really beautifully awkward and ridiculous, and yeah, it was really fun to shoot. It was a few times where I was really trying to control myself from actually laughing because of how he was, awkwardly trying to get in there. I think one of the hardest things of working on the film was trying to not laugh at Josh all the time, and just having to hold it together.
We're kind of lost souls, lost in very different ways. Anna's very calm for the most part. She's very focused, very determined, knows what she wants, and is calculated in the way she gets it. Steve is much more dispersed. His energy is really quite manic in a lot of ways. In any kind of old school comedy, there's a funny guy and a straight guy. And Izzy is kind of the straight guy. She's the solid, rock around which I kind of bounce off. In this, she's incredible. And honestly, doing a Russian accent is difficult enough. Then she does the Russian dialogue, entirely in Russian. We had a Russian coach on set who couldn't tell the difference. She was going, "It sounds Russian to me. She sounds like she was born and raised in Russia." I mean, that's how good, she's just worked so hard on it.
Rhonda Birchmore was cast as my mistress. She has this sort of niche market. Rhonda is like our Australia's showgirl. She is accomplished cabaret performer, dancer, singer, and she's irrepressible, and she is magnificent and tall and very sexy and fabulous. So, thanks, Ron. She is so startlingly magnificent. I think that if you could probably use the word trophy, I think that's probably what Rog first thought that he wanted from the relationship, and still does. He's a fairly sexy beast, Roger. Not me, Roger. In that he's fairly inguinal. He thinks with his groin. Cheryl wants more out of the relationship, but I'm not sure that Roger can deliver.
She adores him. I mean, she initially, in the beginning of the film, she just adores him, and he's just, he spoils her. He probably buys her lovely, things and frocks, and she's just loves to cook for him and just look after him and just to be with him. And I think Roger probably likes that Cheryl is a little glamorous and a nice little handbag to take out with the boys or whenever they go. And I think she's really good in bed with him. I'd heard really good things about Steve Brisley. My goodness, I was lucky to have him. I mean, to do that sex scene with him second day in, it's like, hello, get your gear off, get into bed. And he tells me he's done something like 60. I'm about his 60th, Sheila that he's had on film. So, but I was like a bit of a, film virgin, really, and I had to be guided by him.
I guess watching Colin dancing in that moment
It's like witnessing a flashback of a person you were once in a relationship with. Like they must have sexually connected at one time. A lot, well. But I think it's the fetishistic side of it and the fact that he's been unfaithful to her. She can't trust him anymore and that he keeps lying to her and there's no communication. I think often marriages lose communication because it's taken for granted. She is trying to connect and join them, reunite them, but is being blocked by him so much and can't be who he wants her to be.
Essie and I have talked about this. Essie, my wife, in the movie. Where are they at the end of the movie? I think they are on the precipice of their marriage. So they're staring down at the abyss. This could be it. He is looking down the barrel of a great deal of loneliness if he can't connect with his wife and daughter.
You know, it's never what you think it's going to be. Like, you have an idea of a character on paper and then you start playing with the other actor and it kind of evolves into something. And I said to Adam the other day, I said, Lisa is so bossy with you. You're just like, now, you should do this, 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 this. And I think that has kind of become the sort of underlying background dynamic for me and Tommy. For me personally, Lisa is quite a controlling, slightly anxious, wanting everything to be fine, and he's a lovely sort of acquiescent, sweet, gentle thing that kind of wants to please her all the time. So the dynamic does a bit become her kind of finger wagging at him and him sort of obliging. Adam Zwar is a fantastically talented, multi-skilled performer and writer who I didn't really know much about, to be honest, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to jump in to this relationship with this actor and make it all look real, and you know, and there's always that anxiety about, well, what if it doesn't look real, and what if no one believes the relationship? And then in the end you just say, well, you have to just trust that you've both got the skills and the will to make it work. I do think there's a lovely complicity between us and a real affection, and I hope we've been able to kind of lean on each other and work with each other and draw from each other to create a realistic Tommy-Lisa relationship.
Lisa has provided a family for Tommy, because I don't know where Tommy's family is. I don't know if he has one, but I think he's so devoted to her in every sense. I always felt that the backstory between them was that she might have gone out with a few arseholes and a few bad guys, and then she thought, the first nice guy that kind of crosses my path, I'm taking him, and it happened to be Tommy, and Tommy can't believe his luck. And so, you know, he's probably batting a little bit out of his league, but he's holding on to this girl with both hands. And regardless of the fact that the family is seriously flawed, it is a family, and I don't think that Tommy has one of them. I didn't think Tommy was under the thumb as much as he is, so that's been interesting. Nadine's such a generous actor, and funny. She's level-headed, pragmatic. To do those scenes that we've done, with someone else it may have been uncomfortable. You know, I remember thinking she was pretty much all right on the Henderson Kids. I don't know if I had a crush on her, but I remember thinking she was all right. And if I told my, you know, the 13-year-old Adam that one day he'd be in a movie playing Nadine Garner's boyfriend, I think he'd be pretty happy about that, even with a broken vagina.
Her attention is very much with her youngest son, and that he's the one. I just think she really identifies with him and loves him and wants him to be happy and wants him to... I think she sees his spark, she sees his creative mind and his, which is Josh as well. She just finds him very easy to love. Josh is always on. He's got an incredibly inventive, creative mind. He's just, his brain is working and working all the time, coming up with inventive ways of solving problems, of making everyone laugh, of making every situation have an interesting twist. I find him utter joy to work with. I think he was 11 or 12 years old and worked with him, then played his mother. I discovered him. No, I knew then, but you could tell, you know, that he was very clever boy, like really clever.
There's so much love there, but there's also that, you know, I think that any son wants to extricate themselves from their parents at some stage in life, and you go, I'm growing up now, I don't need you to tuck me in anymore. I'm big enough, I can dress myself, I can feed myself. But there's always that part of us who just, when you get sick and you're vomiting and you're sick, you just want your mum. You just want your mum. And I think there's sort of, Steve really discovers that in this. This is the second time I've worked with Heather, and the second time I played her son. We go way back. When I was like 14 years old, I played Heather's son before. So we go a long way back.